All right, so with the grand finals of MSC, was PH, it was basically MPL PH, a remake of that, right? Of course, a different team won it this time, but does that mean that PH Philippines, they are now the strongest MLBB region, like in SEA power ranking wise? What do you think, Jared?
I definitely believe so. Just looking back, going towards M2, Brain Esports, then look, just watching those two teams, Execration and Blacklist, uh, through MPL PH, absolutely brilliant. Sure, Execration were a bit, uh, I'd say, bumpy through the group stages, but once they got through that, they put on an amazing show to take down so many challenges. Aura PH, Brain Esports, yes, they lost in the grand finals, but they gave Blacklist a really tough time. And then coming into this, the way that they played through their group, firstly, then through everything else, going back into the setting of its MPLPH grand finals again, basically against Blacklist International, this team that beat us, reverse swept us literally a week ago, um, and having the mental stability to actually destroy them in the grand finals. Not even just like they went to the same scoreline, 3-1, and they must have probably thought, oh, what if it happens again? And they didn't let it bug them. They just went through. So that's three teams basically that have crushed from a Philippine standpoint, and I think that definitely puts Philippines up at the top of the rankings.
Yeah. I think when we talk about power ranking, when we talk about region, right, not so much just the team specifically, there are a lot of factors in play, right? I mean, of course, our individual mechanical skills as well as the average level of the community is something that we need to look into. But when we talk about the top level, of course, esports, like, when you talk about international stage, definitely no doubt that I think Philippines has shown that they are probably the best. And not so much of just individual plays, but also the way they actually adapt and grow within the tournament. Because I think that's really important. Because as we can see, like execution, yes, there were some bumpy roads. They lost to EVOS, right? Yes,
Yes,
they lost to
that's correct.
EVOS
Yeah.
in the upper bracket, and you see the way they adapted themselves. They fought their way back, and yeah, I mean, mentally they were, in a way, they were joking. They jokingly answered that in, I think, one of the post-match interview, that they are used to that. They're used to crawl back from the lower bracket. They prefer it that way, something along that line. I remember there was Kaura. Yeah, and it showed like how they would be able to adapt, and this the credit goes to not just the players but also the coach, and like the supporting cast behind all that, right? They support that they need, maybe they have like an analyst or whatever. You can see the way they play, they clean up the mistakes, they draft better, they have better rotation as well. So definitely with that in mind, I feel like they, on paper, they definitely deserve like to be the strongest region right now, I feel. But having said that, my counter argument is that I feel like um the Indonesian scene is definitely still up there. If not like hand in hand, like a tie number one, if not still slightly ahead. Because yes, you can argue that yes, they lost to Execration as well as Blacklist. The best team, it was Legends. And even BTR, a second team in MSC, didn't do really well. But I feel like as a whole, at the region, there's always been super competitive because of the support that they have, because of the organizations, because of the number of like um uh population, plus quality talent and all that. So I feel like they are not far behind, and they will take this maybe 1.5 months of off season to readjust themselves and come back stronger in their own local league next season, and possibly in the next international stage.
I think yeah, what you brought up is probably quite true as well. So if you look at just the time that the players had, so MPLPH ended a month before, um, sorry, just like a week before MSC, right? Whereas the ID ended, what was it, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks before?
Yeah, 3 weeks, yeah, to a month, yeah.
Yeah. So the first of all is the champions or the heroes that they get to play that weren't available. So things like Glue and Fovius might not have been around for them to really get the hang of them against such a kind of opponents. Whereas in MPLPH, we definitely saw that those kind of things were available towards the end of it and played even. So the teams, um, I guess it comes down to a difference in meta and being able to experience the meta. Sure, they might have scrimmed, but no one's going to show full strategies in scrims. So yeah, it would be nice to see um, you know more of these teams and more of these teams fighting against each
Yeah.
other.
And another big factor here is like both of the Indonesian representatives they were playing with stand-ins, right? They had like recent roster changes. Because for example, like ETR, like Megatron, they had to do without their carry player brands, and
Yes,
they were playing with I think Max as carry in the first two games. Like
yes, the first two games. Yeah,
yeah, somehow they excluded Repo, their experienced laner, from the lineup, and then Rambo was of course playing the mid lane, mid support. Then, but they once I think third game, that's when they switched things up after they lost to Infinity. When they were playing in the second phase of group stage, that's when like they finally came alive, right? With Repo came back on the roster and all that, but it was you could argue that it's a little bit too late for them to adjust. And then same thing with EVOS Legends, they had to play with Rexy as well as LJ stand-in for Luminaire as well as Rec, their two shot callers. So basically, yeah, they are playing with like with two new shot callers. Yeah, they had
it's
you're right.
difficult.
They had 3 to 4 weeks to prep, but sometimes you need a little bit more time. Yeah, especially with a team that has like so many high caliber players, right? Yeah.
And they still come third place, which is not, their income last. It's still extremely valiant with two stand-ins.
Yeah, I would say definitely ID and PH. They are no doubt still the tops, the first and the second most strongest region. Yeah, by far, I would say. You could technically argue that Malaysia comes third for now. For now. Yeah, IRG and Y
Sure.
represent awesome. Yeah, they did well. They were top four basically. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but the other regions, hopefully, we get to see much more improvements in the near future.
Yes. I'd like to see more of like the Cambodian region purely because of impunity. If they had a domestic league come up, I think that would be interesting to watch. The same with Vietnam, IDNS, Thailand, all of those regions. Those teams look really good, and they could probably build a lot with the domestic league. Um, so I would like to see that happen in the near future.